And then we have التدريب الرابع عشرة, the 14th exercise, and it says اقرأ. اقرأ is to read. نعم. So the book will start to talk a little bit more about the verbs. Verbs in Arabic language is called فعل, فعلون, okay, which is verb. And the plural is أفعال, أفعال. We have three types of verbs in Arabic language. We have the past tense, al-madi. Okay, we have a past tense, which is a madi. And we have present tense, al-mudari. Okay. And we have something called al-amr, which is command verb. Command verb. So in English, we have past, present, and future, right? They're all divided by the time. They are categorized in terms of time. In Arabic language, we categorize by the past tense, the present tense, and something called command verbs. Just if you're wondering what about future tense, we will be using the mudare, the present tense, uh, to indicate future tense. And that is the same situation with English as well. For example, if we say eat, this is what the verb eat is present tense, right? And the past tense is ate, right? So it's a difference. Present tense is eat and the past tense is ate. So how do we say future tense? We will be using the present tense, right? We will say, we will just add something like will it, right? So we're using the same verb, right? So there's no difference between present tense or the future tense. It's just a matter of using a helping verb. So same thing will be the case with the present tense in the future tense in Arabic language. Inshallah, something that we'll be talking about in the future lesson. So right now, what you need to know is that verbs in Arabic language are categorized into three types. Al-Madi, which is the past tense, Al-Mudari is the present tense, and Al-Amr, which is the command verb. So this is something different in Arabic language from the English. In English, we don't categorize a verb into command, but in Arabic we do. Okay, we have the concept of commanding something in our English language. Of course, we say read, or write. We can use the same verb, same present tense to indicate. But in Arabic language, the command verb has a different shape, and that's why they are categorized separately. So far we have been using the present tense verbs, right? We have been using present tense verb, and I'm pretty sure you can recognize them. Remember what we said. We said the first letter indicates that it is a present tense verb. We said that if the first letter is one of this letter from anaitu, right? You can say different ways. You can say anaitu, anaita, anaiti, it doesn't matter, as long as you are talking about these four letters. Okay, Hamza, Noon, Ya, and Ta. Okay, we said that every present tense verb must start with one of these letters, right? So, and clearly we have ya, and we mentioned that this is an indication, having this ya is an indication that it is a present tense verb. And as you can see, the ya is here. And we also have seen how to use ta, because for example, we have the verb here, yaktubu. We had this verb before. Yaktubu means what? He writes. So how do we say she writes? We can say taktubu. Okay. Taktubu. So what have we done? We have changed the first letter from ya to ta. So these are the things that we have studied before. Inshallah, we'll be talking a lot more in the future lesson. But right now, what you need to know is having one of these letter as a first letter of the verb indicates that this is a present tense verb, right? So remember what we said in the past, that the verb in Arabic language, it gives us three informations. It gives us the action itself. Of course, we need to know what action this verb is referring to, right? For example, uh, When we say يقرأ, what is the action? The action is to read. The action is about reading. So it gives you the action. It also gives you the tense, right? That's what the verb does. The verb has to give you a time, whether it was in the past, present, or the future, right? So here, this yakra'u, it gives us the action of reading, and it also says that this action is happening in the present tense, right? And in Arabic language, the verb also gives you one more thing, which is the subject pronoun. Okay, it gives you the subject pronoun. So we said that when we say yaqra'u, it means reading in the present tense, and it also means that the person who is reading, it is he, meaning third person singular, and the third person masculine singular. Okay, so he. So all of this verb has this pronoun built in. Yaftahu means he opens. So we have the he inside. So a lot of these things we have studied before about the present tense, right? So let's see how we deal with the past tense, right? The past tense. So we have the verb qara'a, which is the past tense of the verb yaqra'u. Let me take another verb. Is something that we can work on quickly right now. So for example, we have the verb jalasa, which is remember we said if we want to give a general meaning of the verb, we say to, right? So we can say to sit. So jalasa means to sit. So the actual translation of jalas would be then what? He sat. An actual translation of yajlisu would be he sits or he is sitting. Okay. So what's the difference between the past tense and the present tense? One thing you should be expecting, because what we said is that the first letter indicates this ya indicates that this is a present tense, right? Is a present tense. So that means we should not have this ya in the past tense. And that's precisely what's happening. We don't have the ya because this ya is the letter of the present tense. So in the past tense, we cannot have it. So the form is usually, and right now I'll only give you a general understanding so that it helps you get started with the past tense verbs, right? There are a lot of things happens in the verbs. Inshallah, we'll be studying them in the future. Generally, the past tense verb will start with fatha. The first letter will have fatha. Okay, for example, we have jalasa, dakhala, kharaja, fataha, kataba, qara'a. All of them has fatha, right? And also generally, when it doesn't have a suffix, it will be ending with fatha. Okay, see, jalasa, dakhala, kharaja, fataha, kataba, qara'a. All of them has fatha, right? So one thing will change, which might change, is the middle letter. The middle letter sometimes might be fatha, sometimes might be dhamma, sometimes might be kasra. Okay, this is something will change. So, and in the past tense, we said it will be starting with one of these letters, right? And usually, if it's not connected with anything in the suffix, it doesn't. If it doesn't have any suffix, it will be ending with dhamma. Okay, so these are the two characteristics of the past tense and the present tense. So when you learn verb from now on, inshallah, you should try to learn them in a pair. You should try to learn the verbs, the past and the present in the pair. Because what happens is, although you just learned that the first letter will always be fatha and the last letter will be fatha as well, but this middle letter, you don't know. Okay. So for example, here in the past tense, the ta has a fatha, and the present tense, the ta has a dhamma. Here in the past tense, the ta has a fatha, but in the present tense, ta has a fatha. Okay, as you can see, there are some differences. We don't know. We cannot predict what's going to be. Okay, so at this point, you should be memorizing them in a pair. Now let's look at the command verbs. Here we're saying qara'a, he read in the past tense. Yaqra'u is he's reading or he reads. And iqra. Iqra here means to read, meaning you're asking someone to read. Before I talk about the form of the command verb, so we still have to find out one thing. Remember what we said? We said that every verb needs action, tense, and also the subject pronoun. Okay, every verb, all three types of verb will give you these three informations. It will talk about the action, it will tell you the tense, and it will also tell you the subject pronoun. So here, of course, the action is the reading, right? And the tense, um, in the beginning is a little bit difficult to figure out. The tense here, if you think about, if somebody is asking you to read, or the tense, what should be the tense? It's not quite easy to find out. The tense is actually future tense. Okay, something extra information at this point you don't have to know. That's not the point. But what we need to know, what is more important here right now, is the subject pronoun. So what would be the subject pronoun here? When you say ikra, what would be the subject pronoun? So we have the subject pronoun here is he. We have a subject pronoun here is also he. So can we say the subject pronoun here is he? Think about this. Can you order a third person? For example, can you order to someone who's not here? So if you're asking someone to do something, that needs to be what? That needs to be second person, meaning someone who you're referring to, someone you're talking to. So here the pronoun is actually anta. Anta means you. I'm talking to you. So when I'm saying ikra anta, means I'm telling you, you read. So anyway, I'm giving you a little bit more extra information. You don't have to fully grasp everything that I'm saying. Whatever you understand is alhamdulillah, it's fine. Because these are the things that we'll be seeing in the future lesson in more details, and these things will be coming, okay? So now let's look at the form, right? The form here we have iqra. Before we talk about the form, the first thing I want to talk about is this letter that we have here. What letter is this? Sounds like a very simple question, but most people get this thing wrong. Meaning, we have, of course, we have the first letter here is ya, right? So what letter is this first letter? If you're saying alif, then the answer is wrong. This is not alif. Okay, this is not alif. Because few things you need to know about alif. Alif is one of the very unique letter in Arabic language. Alif can never take, alif never takes a harakat, meaning vowels. Meaning you cannot put fatha on the alif, you cannot put dhamma on the alif, you cannot put kasra on the alif. Okay, so that is impossible in Arabic language. So what happens? Alif is always sukun, always has sukun. Okay, so you will always have sukun in the alif. So this is so they're kind of connected. Another thing about alif which you should know is that never comes in the beginning of the word. You understand? So alif will never come in the beginning of the word. It will always be in the middle or at the end. So we clearly have both of these rules violated. For example, here we have uktubu. They in this one they didn't write the haraka. Inshallah, we'll talk about this. But here they clearly wrote uktub. So we have a dhamma here. So which breaks what? The first rule. Alif can never take haraka, and it always needs to be in sukun. So that's not good, right? And also, this is the first letter of the word, which breaks the second rule, which is what? Alif never comes in the beginning of any word. Any word. Okay? So it's clearly in the beginning of the word. So what's going on here is basically this is not an alif, obviously. This is what? This is Hamza. Okay, so in Arabic language, we have two types of Hamza. We have Hamza, I'll just use the English term so it's easier. We have a strong Hamza, strong, and we have weak. Weak one, I'm pretty sure you heard this term, is called Hamzatul Wasl. Hamzatul Wasl. Okay, let me write in Arabic. Hamzatul Wasl. Okay, so we have two types, strong Hamza, which is your standard Hamza, and the weak Hamza. So by and large, when you have a strong Hamza, you will see the sign of Hamza. You will see that. For example, it will be either on Alif like this, or it will be on Alif like this at the bottom, right? And this strong Hamza, this is a very big topic. I'll just quickly mention that it can also be on the top of Waw and Ya and all of these things, okay? But right now, our main concern is this Alif shape. So when we have a strong Hamza, then this Hamza will be written on the top. You cannot avoid writing it. You must write it. But when we have a Hamza, which is weak Hamza, then you write just like an Alif. Okay, you write just like an Alif. And that's what we have here. This is Hamzatul Wasl. For example, when we have the word Amama, for example, we have to write this one because this is not a Hamzatul Wasl, this is a strong Hamza. So what's the difference? I know there are a lot of difference. I'm really giving you a lot of extra information because these are the things we have to talk about when we're talking about the command verbs, right? So we have to make sure we understand this concept. So when we have weak Hamza, uh, for example, when we say al-baytu, we say al-baytu. So what do you think this thing is? Is this Alif? Well, right now you probably thinking maybe it's not Alif. Maybe before you thought this was Alif. Well, this is not Alif, this is Hamzatul Wasl. Why? Number one, it came in the beginning. Number two, we have a haraka, we have fatha. So when we have Hamzatul Wasl and we have any other letters before it, or we're connecting with any word or any letter, then we don't pronounce Hamza, we just go to the lam. We say wal baytu. We don't say wa al baytu, right? But if it was a strong Hamza, if it was, for example, here, Amama, and you want to say and front, you cannot say wa mama. You have to say wa amama. All right. So these are really side information, but if these things are not clear, we're going to have a problem understanding the command verbs, right? Now, okay, so these are all Hamzatul Wasl. So if we have anything before this, you don't say wa uktu, you say wak tu. You understand? Now, so now that we understand some of these things, now let's see how we make this command verb. The way we make command verb is, the simple way I can tell you is, you take the present tense verb, which was yaqra'u, yaqra'u, right? So the first thing is that we keep on talking about this first letter because we mentioned this, the first letter is exclusively for the present tense verb, right? We said that having this ya, this is an indication that this is a present tense verb. So we cannot have this ya in any other types of verb. We cannot have ya in the past tense, nor can we have it in the command verb. So the first thing is that we remove this first letter, okay? We have to remove the first letter. Now we're left with a qaf having a sukun, and the ra, we carry on the same haraka. Ra had fatha, right? Those we don't change. So the second step is that we change the ending of the last letter from dhamma to a sukun. Okay, so we change dhamma to sukun. You see? So now what do we have? We have something like this. Okay, we have something like this. But the problem is, in Arabic language, we cannot start a word with a sukun. Okay, it is something like Arab, they cannot pronounce a word with a sukun. right? For example, they don't know how to start this word. We have a sukun in the beginning. We don't know how to pronounce. There's no vowel. So what do we do? And this is when we have to bring our weak hamza to help us out with pronunciation. So this weak hamza is coming only for the pronunciation. Okay. So now we say we bring the hamza tul wasl, and by default, usually we want to put a kasra to a hamzatul wasl. Okay, so we say ikra, because just having hamzatul wasl is still not helping us because we need to put the haraka. That is the whole purpose, right? So we are bringing the hamzatul wasl and we're giving a haraka with kasra. That is the default, right? So we say ikra. Now this is how we have this form ikra. Okay, you understand? So now you might be wondering, why do we have dhamma here? Why do we have a dhamma here? So what's happening here is, if we put a kasra here, for the Arabs, going from kasra to a dhamma, it is a little bit difficult on their tongue. Okay, so in this case, when you have the middle letter with dhamma, that's when you will be putting a dhamma on the hamzatul wasl. Only when you have a middle letter with dhamma. If the middle letter is fatha, or if the middle letter is kasra, you put kasra in the hamzatul wasl. Only when you have a middle letter dhamma, you put a dhamma. You understand? So I'll just give you one example and see what's going on here. So we had yakhruju. So we remove the ya. So we have, and we put a sukun here, right? So we have uh, kha with sukun and ra with dhamma and jim right now with sukun. What do? We bring hamzatul wasl to help us with the pronunciation. But what haraka do we put? That depends on the middle letter. If the middle letter has dhamma, we put dhamma. If not, we just put kasra. Okay. I'm pretty sure that a lot of information, is probably extremely overwhelming, and I mentioned a few times already. This is something I'm giving a lot of extra information. Whatever you understand, this is Alhamdulillah, and we'll be dealing with these things extensively, inshallah, and slowly, inshallah, in the future lesson. What you do need to know right now, because the book is introducing this concept, that we have a verb, and there are three types of verbs. Okay, al-madi is the past tense, al-mudare is the present tense, and al-amr is the command verb. And if you're wondering about what happened to the future tense, we use the present tense to indicate the future tense, something inshallah we'll be talking about in the future. And right now, what you need to do is you have to read these verbs in a pair multiple times so that you are comfortable with the sound and you see some of the difference between, in terms of sound and the haraka, the vowels, the difference between all these three verbs. So you have to read like this: qara'a yaqra'u iqra, kataba yaktubu uktub, fataha yaftahu iftah, kharaja yakhruju ukhruj, dakhala yadkhulu udkhul, and jalasa yajlisu ijlis. So you should be reading a few times, and inshallah you will see, even if you don't understand everything that I mentioned to you about their differences and the forms, at least you should be reading them so you get very comfortable with the sound. Okay, inshallah. So let's see what we have here. We have at-tadrib al-khamis ashara, the 15th exercise. Here they want you to make the verbs in different form, right? So we have raqa'a. What is raqa'a? Remember, we had this verb before. Yarka'u. Yarka'u is what? To bow down, right? To make a ruku'. We had this verb before. So as you can see in the past tense, we don't have the ya. So we remove the ya, right? And then we put fatha in the first letter, and we change the last letter into fatha as well. And what to put middle letter is something that we have to memorize. It's something that nobody knows. We have to find out from the dictionary. We have to know. We have to learn it. Okay. So we say raka'a, yarka'u, and irka. Okay. So what goes here? This one would be easy. Why? Because you have to get this one from the present tense, right? The present tense has a fatha, so you put fatha. Raka'a, raka'a, yarka'u, irka'. And why we have a kasra here? Because the present tense, because the middle letter has a fatha. So let's do few of them and see, inshallah, things will be a little bit more easier. So we have sajada. Sajada is to prostrate, right? To do sujud. And here sajada, of course, it is past tense, right? He prostrated. Okay, this is in the past tense. So how do we say in the present tense? We have to bring our ya, because ya is for the present tense, right? So we say yes. Okay, we bring the ya and the put sukun on the first one, yes, and the last one is always dhamma, right? Yes, but we don't know what to say in the middle letter. We don't know what to say. We cannot make up. It could be yes jadu, it could be yes jidu, it could be yes judu. At this point, this is something there's no way for us to find out. We have to know these things. Okay, we have to know this. So here we have to put dhamma. The correct spelling is with the dhamma. Sajada yes judu. Something that we have to memorize. That's no other way, right? Even if a new verb for an Arab, someone who speaks the Arabic language natively, if he has the present past tense verb, he will not be able to find out what is the letter, what is the haraka of the middle letter in the present tense. Something he also has to find out. So don't feel too bad. Sajada, yes, judu. And now what do we do with the command verb? This one is a little bit easy because we can just follow our rules that we had, right? So simply we remove the ya again. So we have sin, and then we have jim, and then we have dal, and dal should get sukun, right? We always put sukun in the command verb. And sin had sukun, so we put sukun, and jim had dhamma, we put back the dhamma. Now, because the scene is starting with sukun, the word is starting with sukun, which is not allowed. So what do? We need a help from the Hamzatul Wasl. So we bring the Hamzatul Wasl. Now what do we do? What do we put in the Hamzatul Wasl? Do we put fatha? Do we put kasra? Or do we put dhamma? In the command verb, don't worry about fatha. We don't use fatha, right? So your only options are either dhamma or kasra. So if you're recalling what I said, if the middle letter has dhamma, then we have to put dhamma. Okay. So we say usjud. Okay. So now we have sajada, yasjudu, usjud. Now, Jay. So the next one we have shariba, which is he drank. And if you remember, we had this verb in the present tense and we had yashrabu, right? We had yashrabu. Yashrabu. So this one we already learned, right? And what would be the command verb? Okay, it's very simple. Sin, ra, ba, sukun, and we have hamzatul wasl. We have to put kasra. The only time we put anything else other than kasra is when the middle letter is dhamma. We use dhamma. So it will be ishrab. Shariba, yashrabu, ishrab. And we have sa'ida, which is he up, climbed up. And we also had this verb in the present tense. We learned this verb in the present tense. Yas'adu. Yas'adu. Okay, remember? Yas'adu. He climbs up. So sa'ida, yas'adu. And what would be the command verb? I'll leave this one for you. Inshallah, you should be able to make this command verb using the steps that I mentioned, right? And then we have rahala. Rahala we can use for we can say he moved, like meaning he departed, like he moved. For example, when you move from one country to another country and you relocate somewhere, and you can say you can use this for rahala. So rahala, and the present tense is yarhalu. Yarhalu. Okay, and what would be the command verb? Inshallah, something that you should be able to make. But these things, the middle one, you have to know. Either you have to find from the book or the dictionary, or inshallah, if something comes, I will mention to you. So these two patterns you have to memorize. And with these two patterns, the command verbs you can always make. Now, and then the last exercise we have here, they give you the mudare, the present tense, and they ask you to make into the past and the command verb. So which should be simple. So we have yadrusu, darasa, and udrus, right? And why do we have middle letter into a dhamma? Because the present tense has a dhamma. Now, so now let's see what we can, how we can make this verb yadhabu, which means he goes, right? How do we say he went? Well, we have to remove the present tense letter, right? And then because it's sukun here, we will just add fatha. Okay, we say, uh, okay, we'll add a fatha, and the past tense always has a fatha at the end, right? So the only thing we have to know again, what do we put in the middle letter? Something really at this point you have to know. I don't think the book expect you to find out by yourself what to put. I think the book wants you to find out from the teacher or from the dictionary what to put here. Here is something that you cannot find out by yourself. You have to know, right? So yadhabu, and the past tense is dhahaba. Dhahaba yadhabu. So what is the command verb? Which something that inshallah you should be able to do. It would be idhab. Okay, it would be idhab. Idhab. And then we have ya'malu. What is ya'malu? We had this verb. Ya'malu means he works, right? He works. And how do we say the past tense? The past tense is amila. Ah, here meme has a kasra. Amila. See, this is something that you have to know. And we have yahfadu. What is yahfadu? Means he memorizes, right? Memorizes. And the past tense is hafidha. Again, we have a kasra here. Hafidha. For this one, yadhaku, he laughs, and the past tense is dahika. 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 Here, all of them has kasra in the middle letter. Okay, that means he laughed. And inshallah, you should be able to make the command verbs, right? Again, the verb is, I'm pretty sure this was a little bit big topic for some of you. Uh, don't worry too much about these things right now. Things will be easy as we move forward, inshallah. Whatever you understand, if you need to watch it a few times, you can. Inshallah, things will be easy as we move on. With that, inshallah, I'll see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.